Hello there, welcome to this next installment of this series creating a Pathfinder 2nd Edition module in Foundry Virtual Tabletop. Let's get started again. We're logging into our game, Strife and Grimbone, and we'll get to the scene that we were dealing with last time. To recap, last time we talked about creating a macro, and we created a custom creature as well. This time we're going to finish dealing with the combat in the tower basement with the forest hag, and we're going to talk about random encounters, and that will give us a chance to talk about this tab on the interface, the rollable tables. So, as always, I first correct all the mistakes I made last time, and the first one is when I was doing this scene, going into the wall controls, I did the walls here in line with the tiles, which is fine, but we don't get to see our nice walls, and so I've redone it so that the walls come here instead of here. If we put our character in, and we've been choosing Marisiel recently, she's still blocked in the right area, so that's alright, we can have her there. She's obscured, hiding under the roots. So we've still got the movement that we like, and can't go over the table. And the PCs will be able to see the scene that they're in, the walls of the scene that they're in. The other mistake I made harks back to the previous area, and we'll go to the journal club for this. So the time before last was when we made these first entries here, where the players, the party, sees the invitation to the Tower Inn, and the path leads north to some cliffs. And then there's a description. So I'd actually done a screenshot of this. So as usual, we'll put our journal there, and then we'll do our editable version here. Extend it down a bit. And the picture tells 1,000 words. What we'll do is give a picture. Give ourselves a space, and because I'm working in Dungeon Alchemist, which is 3D, I can go into the system which allows us to take camera views and camera screenshots. So although we can't play the game in 3D, we can at least get a 3D impression. And we're going to modules, assets, images. And again, give us little thumbnails. So, scrolling down here, I think it's here, the Tower Inn image. Yeah, and that gives us a nice view looking north across the bridge over at the Tower Inn. And if we save that and go into the actual journal, and get a big view, you can even see the Tower Inn written on the signpost there, because there's some objects in Dungeon Alchemist allow you to edit them and have some text on them, like pictures and things. And then the final mistake I made was I didn't correct or change the references to Green Hag and Sweet Hag to Forest Hag, because if you recall, we changed the name. And I think I will bring one up specifically, that in regard to the actors and the forest hag here. So we've changed the name there, but we need to go to the prototype token and also change the name there from Sweet Hag to Forest Hag. So that the token is changed as well as the character sheet. I think that concludes the mistakes I've made. So now we will add bits to the journal to talk about what may happen. Back here again, edit it. So we got to the point where a fight may ensue if the PCs did not discover the secret trapdoor leading down to the basement, and the hag sneakily comes up while hopefully for her many of them are asleep, to attack the party, capture them and have them for dinner later. But what happens if the PCs discovered the trapdoor, and what happens if they'd been captured and then find themselves in the basement? So we'll have captured in the hag's cellar as our next subheading. Heading 2. Oh, we don't need that. I'm trying to get rid of this formatting here. Just trying to get rid of the square formatting. I think the easiest way is to do the thing again. Probably if I went into the HTML I could do it, but let's just do the whole thing again. In my Word document, it's nowhere near it, but let's move it there. It's better. I'm going to use this in block quote text. Okay, so if the PCs are captured and sleeping, knocked unconscious or affected by the broth or otherwise, you slowly waken, unable to get your bearings. You feel cold earth floor under you. Your hands and feet throb in addition to any other wounds you have sustained. You try to get up and realize that you cannot. Your limbs are securely tied with thick cords and to the wall. Unable to do anything else for now, you survey your surroundings. You are not alone. A wizened old crone, her skin covered in pustules, is bent over a long table on which rests a jumble of vials, bottles, herbs, and specimens. She looks up at you and teases in a rasping croak. "What were we doing here in my tower? Come to steal, did we?" You see that you are in an underground round chamber the same size as the tower. The walls are bare earth shorn up with rough tree branches and screened with twigs. Old roots protrude through cracks in the earth. In the centre of the chamber is a bubbling cauldron over a bed of coals, like a larger cousin of the pot in the tower. The coals give off a sinister red-orange flickering glow, augmented by candles sitting in clay skull-shaped sconces hanging on the walls. A small makeshift chimney, barely more than a rabbit hole in the ceiling, takes up the worst of the smoke from the fire. On the other side of the cauldron is a wooden ladder leading up to a trapdoor in the ceiling. Against the far wall, near a filthy adult-sized cot, is a pile of items probably thrown carelessly down from above, and you recognize all your equipment within the pile. And when I have that, I have another picture of the basement. And we can see the cauldron and the ladder and those candles in the sconces. So the description changes to reflect what's available in Dungeon Alchemist. That's the workbench there. And you might want to show the PC's picture of the enemy. So we would view the artwork, and you can show that to the players there. So next I described that when the PCs waken, they will have regained constitution bonus times their level of hit points, at least 1 times level hit points. They will not have regained any spells or focus points. In conversation with the hag, if the PCs mention the sign, she responds with, "Ah, it worked again, saw the sign, did we?" She approaches the highest charisma male. "Did we think the innkeeper would look like this?" She turns herself into a prim and attractive older woman. "Or this?" She now turns into a buxom serving maid. Then the hag lightly caresses the PC, dealing soporific touch, which is enfeebled 1 for 1 day, with the -4 circumstance penalty to the save. She then turns back to hag form again, cackling with laughter. "Lost, were we? Looking for shelter? Not be missed, will we? Rumbles my belly does, but all in good time." She ascends the ladder up through the trapdoor and departs, leaving the PCs alone with the echoes of her wicked laughter in their ears. So to remind you about soporific touch, it's in character sheet. So this is something that's applied when she uses her twig strike claw, and it's incapacitation, but she's 3rd level, so she'll be alright. And they have to make a DC 18 fortitude save with the -4 circumstance penalty, as if it was betraying touch, because the PCs are helpless, or be enfeebled 1 for 1 day. And if they have that effect when they're already under it, they become unconscious. So if she does repeated strikes with them when they're already under the effect of soporific touch, and those strikes and they fail the save, then they will go unconscious and dream of eating delicious broth made of vegetables of the forest. But for a minute only. So I think we've dealt with that, and maybe we'll have another section and we'll give it a heading, escape. Maybe. So next we describe the PCs might start to plan some escape, but before they get very far, they hear the thumping of heavy boots through the ceiling and muffled civilized male voices calling out for someone. After some scuffling noises, the trapdoor opens. The PC's rescuers start to climb down the ladder, only for it to be the old crone again, scuttling down with bent knees and elbows like a green wrinkly spider. She looks at the PCs and curtsies, giving a long laugh of derision. "Ha ha! Thought rescue had come, did we? Hopes now dashed. Can't trust this tricksy lady, old no. Not her ghost sans. She's using her figment cantrip. She returns up the ladder to leave again. Back soon, dearies. I'm having you for dinner. The trapdoor shuts with a slam, and the PCs will be alone again, for a few hours this time. They will have no equipment or spell books. If learning spells or focus spells can be done while restrained, e.g. sorcerer, innate powers, or clerics and champions praying, they may spend the requisite time doing this. And I suggest now that you can roleplay some means of escape for the PCs. The hag is overconfident and careless. She has bound all the PCs tightly, hand and foot, and they are on the floor, slumped against the rough earthen wall, and tied behind their backs to a wall post, but there is a chance to escape. They may make any number of escape attempts, and will eventually succeed, but expert proficiency is required in unarmed attacks, or acrobatics or athletics to do so. Alternatively, a PC may have a small blade on their person that the hag overlooked, or an acrobatics check might enable them to grab a sharp object such as an old bone fragment left on the floor, just within reach. Or a familiar or animal companion that was not captured might help. Notice that there's a little tunnel for the chimney smoke, for the fire smoke up through a little chimney, so a tiny creature could get through that tunnel and maybe get up outside the tower and undo the bolt from above on the trapdoor. Spells or abilities with only verbal components can be cast while restrained. Changing shape might alter anatomy enough to slip the bonds. The PCs will find the trapdoor locked from above. The trapdoor is of stone and cannot be forced open. Attempts to break it open with weapons will result in the hag returning before the task is finished, and she will obviously be ready for them. There is a bar on the upper side and pick locks will not work. Instead, the PCs might have to wait for her return. And so we added a bit about so depending on how well the PCs can communicate with little tiny familiars, it might go smoothly, or it might end up like Groot trying to explain how to fetch some item or undo the bolt on the trapdoor above. There are a number of potentially useful items in the cellar, and I'll come to those later, so the PCs can get some healing and some power-ups. They might pretend to be still restrained, and then when the hag comes down they might surprise her. So it makes for an interesting combat. So that's the escape from the hag section. What about if the hag was discovered in her lair in the cellar? So we say here, unless the PCs cast silence on the trapdoor, it cannot be opened quietly enough not to alert the tower's resident, our forest hag. We should specify that this is if the PCs discover the trapdoor before the hag comes up to attack them, unless the PCs cast silence on the trapdoor and it cannot easily be opened quietly enough not to alert the tower's resident, the forest hag. She is overconfident and will be surprised the PCs have discovered her trapdoor. She will have had time only to change her appearance to that of an attractive female herbalist. Let's do the formatting first. The trapdoor opens to reveal a chamber below, reached by a wooden ladder. Its floor is bare, compacted earth, and its walls are earth shorn up with rough tree branches and screened with twigs. Old roots protrude through cracks in the earth. To one side of the ladder, standing initially in a somewhat odd posture, over a long table on which rests a jumble of vials, bottles, herbs and specimens, is a kindly-looking lady in rustic pale robes. She looks up at you and asks in a mellow voice, "What can I do for you, honoured guests? Are your accommodations not to your liking?" You briefly take in the details of the room. Against the wall is a filthy adult-sized cot. In the centre of the chamber is a bubbling cauldron over a bed of coals, like a larger cousin of the pot in the tower. The coals give off a red-orange flickering glow, augmented by candles sitting in clay skull-shaped sconces hanging on the walls. The description parallels that of before, doesn't it? Opposite the cot and bench, the wall is bare save for bits of rope and rubbish, because obviously the PCs haven't been captured yet. The hag will converse with the PCs, trying to deflect suspicions. She claims she is a herbalist who prefers not to be disturbed by civilization, but out of kindness nevertheless offers travellers a safe place to stay in the tower above. And in this circumstance we would have the forest hag in the disguise mode, so she's there, there's the ladder there, and the PCs would be around conversing with her. If a PC makes a successful DC 15 perception check, looking around the room during the conversation, they notice that amongst the rubbish against the far wall are bits of what looks like human bones. Very suspicious. And we better do a check there. Doing a roll to cut and paste. So there's perception. DC 15. Traits secret, not poison. Save it. And it's worked. She wants the PCs to head back upstairs to rest, preferably to become exposed to the sleeping effect of the broth upstairs. If this is unlikely, she will wait for the PCs all to descend the ladder into the room and attack at the most opportune moment. And in that circumstance, she'll be using deception for her initiative instead of perception. And then when combat ensues in the basement, we'll have a separate section of tactics for that. Right, so we say the hag starts with casting Charm on the physically toughest looking PC, who hopefully might not have a high will save, and then approaching to within melee range of the physically weakest. She will take a, or alternatively for third action, she will transform into her natural form, a hunched and gangly crone with green, wart-encrusted and moss-covered skin and lank grey hair like Spanish moss hanging from a tree, with the intention of frightening the PCs. A free demoralised check. PC, just make it clear. Free demoralised check requiring will save versus DC 14. If she's already in hag actually the demoralize check is not that. Just do demoralize check. It's just it's the intimidation bonus versus the PC's will. If already in hag form, she spends her third action to demoralize. Then she will attack with her claws and then a spider sting. So she would be using, she doesn't have intimidate, so we better give her intimidate if she's going to be demoralizing people, hadn't we? And should we make it similar to the deception, +8? Okay. Whoops, it's gone down because of, is it her charisma? No, charisma's good. Why has it gone down to 6? Oh, she's weak. We set her weak, didn't we? Fair enough, it's alright. So now she's got the requisite skill to do that. And then a spider sting. So she's got her claws, which have soporific touch, and if you remember, one of the characters may already be affected by that if they'd been captured. And then the spider sting in her spells on the third tab along is touch range, but it's a saving throw, not an attack, so she won't suffer multiple attack penalty for that. And obviously the person would be even more enfeebled and also poisoned. When she starts with casting charm, that would be 2 actions, and combat hasn't started yet, so they won't get the +4 circumstance bonus to their will save, and on a success, on a failure, if the target fails their save, they become friendly. They cannot use hostile actions, so one of the PCs would not be able to take hostile actions against the hag, but if the hag took a hostile action against the PC, the spell is annulled. If the hag is wounded, do a new paragraph. On her subsequent turn, she will cast invisibility 2 actions and sneak away 10 feet to another location in the chamber. If she fails against the PC's perception DC, she's hidden rather than undetected. If she's undetected and the PC subsequently seeks her successfully, taking an action to do so, she is also hidden rather than undetected. If hidden PCs may attack a square, but DC 11 fact check. So that's just the standard rules, but I thought I'd put it down there as this may be an adventure for first-time GMs, and it may be the first time, probably could be the first time, would be the first time if they'd done this adventure that they'd been using invisibility and rules. Thereafter, on her turns, the hag will strike once, the PC will be flat-footed if she's invisible, and then turn invisible again, and repeat that tactic. If a PC is next to the cauldron, she will move. We knew the cauldron would had to play some part somehow, a bit like the pit and the pendulum. The cauldron and the basement. She will move opposite them and try and push them in, cackling, "Into the pot we go, dearie, you know it's for the best." And now, so we'll have a section describing that. The cauldron. If a creature is pushed against the iron cauldron, they suffer 2d6 fire damage with a basic reflex save. So let's do this. That damage. Square brackets. You don't really need the extra round brackets unless you've got like plus something. And I suggest avoiding spaces. And so we'll see what's happened if that's worked. Yeah, 2d6 fire damage. 2 fiery dice. Nice. 11. And a basic reflex save. So the reflex save would probably it would be the equivalent of an athletics action. So it would be the athletics DC of the person doing it. So let's specify that. And the hag's athletics, I think, was +9. Let's check. Yep, so DC 19. If a creature is dumped inside the full cauldron full of boiling water, boiling liquid... Oh, I need to do the reflex save. Check. Square bracket, type, reflex, vertical thing, DC. Oh, I can't remember how to do this, I'm going to have to pause it. You do type reflex, that is versus their skill. So let's see if I can do that. Just a second. Okay, I simply do this. The check, the type is reflex, but you don't have to type in type. And then instead of doing DC 19, you do defense athletics. I also put the name, as it's otherwise a bit hard to work out what's going on. Push into cauldron. They're just saying the hag's DC is DC 19. And this works, as you can see here. Maurizio, so you have the actor as the hag in this case, and the target is the Maurizio, and you click there to send the she's the actor, she's the target. You click here to send the invite, push into cauldron DC 0 reflex, and we click Maurizio because she's the person who's making the save. And she rolls a success, and Origin Herbalist Athletics DC 19. So that works. If a creature is dumped inside the full cauldron full of boiling liquid and nameless ingredients, they suffer 46 fire damage, no save at that time, and at the end of each of their turns that they remain immersed. 46, no spaces, fire, close both square brackets, 4d6 fire damage, and if trying to dump someone into the cauldron, make a reposition action, an athletics versus fortitude DC. On a success, they are pushed into the cauldron for the fire damage as above, that first one, where they get to make another saving throw. On a critical success, they are dumped in straight away. If a creature has just been pushed against the cauldron, a second successful reposition, with multiple attack penalty if applicable, in the same turn will dump them in. So the PCs could gang up on the hag and dump her into her own cauldron, a fitting end to the hag. Tipping over the cauldron off the fire pit is a DC 20 athletics check, single action. The contents do 2d6 fire damage, basic reflex save. To those in a cone, was a 15-foot cone, but it's only 10 foot wide. And a 15-foot cone area, as chosen by the creature tipping over. Touching the empty cauldron when off the fire pit is harmless, it's cooled down quickly. So we'll do the fire damage. damage, and the basic reflex save. Again, let's just pick a random save because tipping over is a kind of an automatic thing. We'll just say it's a DC 15 reflex save. Type, even though I don't think I have to. Best not to do capital letter for the reflex thing. And DC 15, and then we do basic true, and we don't need to do anything else. And so yeah, DC 15 basic reflex save. Whoop, the damage hasn't worked. 2d60, that's a bit cruel. 2d6, that's better. In a 15-foot cone here. Now I'm going to pause again and add in the automatic way of applying a cone. So it's simply, instead of at check or at damage, we do at template, capital T, type cone, distance 15 area, and then it appears like that. And then you can do an invitation for the player to click, or you can do it yourself. Click that. Now we've got the cone coming up on our cursor. So you can give a bit of leeway. I forgot to give a bit of leeway. If you press shift, press and hold shift, that rotates it around by mousing the wheel up and down. And it looks shadowy because of obscuration of vision by the cauldron. So you could do it there, or you could do it there, or what you felt. You could use one of the 4 vertices of that cauldron, I think, to set the direction. Anyway, happy fun for cauldron tossers. And that's that section done. So it's always nice to have something unique in a combat to get a bit of variety using the environment. Searching the basement might happen after the hag is defeated, or it might happen if the PCs are captured, escape their bonds, but still can't get down to the basement apart from tiny familiar. But at least after several hours they can make good preparations. So among the bottles on the table are a bomb of moderate alchemist fire, 2 potions lesser healing, 2 potions of lesser healing, a lesser sinuous shock serum, which could use to counteract the soporific touch, and a lesser comprehension elixir, which might become useful later. Lying under the bed are strewn a number of books and pieces of parchment. Among these is a map of the Ashwood, with annotated locations, including the tower's location, home sweet home, Ogre Den, avoid. So these are the hag's notes. Thessalonian Graveyard, avoid, which the PCs have already encountered. Black Forest Caves, bad tasting. Obviously, the Black Forest Gateau doesn't taste nice in the hag's estimation. And Drake Nest, good source of eggs when invisible. Obviously, she's been stealing eggs while under the cover of invisibility. South of the marked town of Grimbone points an arrow with a scrolled caption, Nemo, friend or foe. Oh, Nemo, fiend or foe. Finally, hidden under the filthy mattress of the bed are a pair of healer's gloves. So let's deal with these. So first of all, on the bottles on the alchemy table. So we should do a treasure actor, shouldn't we? So we'll create loot. We've got a loot one. We've got advance payments, bandit loot, burial site treasure. So we'll add a treasure item. Hag's elixirs, we'll call them, shall we? Or hag's concoctions, because they're elixirs and potions. Type loot. And if you wanted to spend a lot of time, you could have a nice picture there. It takes me a while to find one. I'd probably pick a potion bottle. So we're going to the compendium, and our first item was a moderate alchemist fire. Counts as a weapon, not a consumable, because it's a bomb. And then we've got 2 potions of lesser healing. Healing potion, healing vapor, healing potion lesser, and 2 of them. So that's quite good healing for first level. That's 2d8 plus 5. And then we've got a sinew shock serum. I think this is a legacy item which has got a different name now, so I'm just going to pause it again and find out the new name. So it's surging serum, who knew? And a lesser comprehension elixir. Let's hope that that hasn't been changed. No, thank goodness. So that's those. And we'll put that there. Eggs concoctions. And in the other items, got healer's gloves. So there's just one item, so why don't we just do the item? Healer's gloves. Now we have to deal with these annotations. So what we could do here is in our journal, we've got PC information about Ashwood Forest, Vindaka region map. So we could add a journal entry which is essentially listed so the players can look at it. So we'll add an entry here. Forest Hags notes on the Ashwood. And what we want to do here is configure ownership so that all the players, even observers, can see it instead of none. Create new page, we don't need to display the title because it's the same as the main thing. And we'll just put this here. So there's some bullet points for the players to look at. And then also what we do is if we go to the scene here, can hardly see it now. As we build up this layer, for example, we've got that. As we build up the layer, we can add in journal notes and make them visible to the players as they explore, or since if they discover this item on the hag, we can make them visible to all the players at once, all those items. So we'll do that a little bit later. So I believe that concludes the hag section. What I thought, since the situation now is that the players, the PCs, have explored one encounter and another encounter, they might be inclined to rest in the tower. They've spent several hours. I think now is the time to start to well, actually it's probably here, the tower, when I put it in, actually it's there. Now is the time to think about random encounters, and we're going to use a rollable table for that. So we use our journal as a base for creating the random encounters, and we'll have a subfolder. So there's a subfolder within here, and then our first random encounter will have yellow musk on the wind, is what it's called. Okay, so we have a folder here and a heading there, and our idea is that we'll we'll start off with 2 or 3 entries here. I'll fill them in later, and then I'll show you how you put it on a rollable table. So the next random encounter we have is Sturge Flyby. The next one will be Raging Ogre. And then we'll start filling this one in. So here, in this random encounter, 2 yellow musk thralls stumble upon the party. If they strike a PC with pollen touch and the PC is fascinated, that PC moves to the parent yellow musk creeper 30 feet away, deeper into the forest, and remains there, inviting the yellow musk creeper to perform its bore into brain attack. So hopefully we'll just have the stats for a yellow musk thrall here. Yellow musk thrall. Actually, we should import them in. So -1 level creature, we'll import it in. Then we can find a picture for it, which we can do later. And then the yellow musk creeper, import that one too. Yellow musk throw, yellow musk creeper, and then the throw we put there. And then if the PCs do go a bit further and destroy the creeper, and we'll put the creeper there. A rotting corpse under the creeper has a belt pouch, still usable leather armour, a bottle of lesser quicksilver mutagen, and a silver religious symbol of Desna. So we'll now create the loot for that. Left by some poor adventurer who didn't survive. So we got leather armour. We got lesser quicksilver mutagen, that's how it's the same name. And a silver religious symbol of Desna. Religious symbol silver. So we'll import that in. Drag it in under an item. There we go. Yellow musk creeper treasures. And then we'll quickly do the next one. Which is the Sturges. 3 Bloodseekers. No title to display. 3 Bloodseekers hungry for blood swoop down on the party. Their tactics would be to fly down for their first action, strike, and then fly up 15 feet for their third action. Once they successfully strike, they attach. No. Bloodseeker. Barbed Bloodseeker. Who knew there were so many varieties of Bloodseeker? And did I say 3? Yep. So that's enough for an illustration at least. So to recap, we have under chapter 2, the Ashwood, we created a subfolder, random encounters, and in that subfolder we have 3 encounters, 1, 2 and 3. Third one we haven't detailed yet. So next we go into rollable tables, and we want to create a folder, Strife and Grimbone. And then we want to create a table which we'll call Ashford random encounters in the Strife and Grimbone folder. Yeah. Change that. Now we have the opportunity to add a description to the table, and I think we'll take that opportunity. Get rid of formatting and see if we can speed the check once every 8 hours during a rest period if the PCs are on a watch rotor, choose at random on which watch the encounter occurs. And I think we'll change this on the path or off the path. If the PCs are off the path, roll twice. A second time every 8 hours if the first roll had no encounter. And as always, I think it goes without saying, random encounters are up to the GM's discretion if it doesn't suit the timing or the flavour of the adventure. So we have to add something here. So we add a result, and we have options here: a text, a document, or a compendium. So compendium would presumably be taking something standard of the compendium. Text means it's just going to present the results as text, probably in the chat, like you rolled a such and such. Document will actually refer to a document. That's what we're going to choose. The document could be an actor. For example, if on a rollable table you just wanted to roll a random monster, but we want to roll a random actual encounter, and so rather than actor, we want a journal entry. The reason why in the journal I didn't just do an entry like this, and instead of D the tower in, random encounters, and then have add the pages there, is that you can't refer to individual journal pages. You can only refer to journal entries. So that's why I had to do it as a folder with each of these separate things, a journal entry, and then do that kind of 1 page per entry thing. So first journal entry, and we drag it in here, the yellow musk on the wind. Whoops. Oh, so you had to drag the whole thing in, so we don't want that. And then we'll drag in another one. And then we'll drag in a third. So what will happen is it's saying update it. So I think we're going to have D3 here. What should happen is when we roll, whoops, 1 to 1, we get that. Between 2 and 2, we get that. Between 3 and 3, get the ogres. So what should happen on a D3 roll is we'll get it flicking around until choosing something. I had a little dice sound in the chat. It came to 3, so we see here now we get the description text that belongs there. On a 1d3 we rolled a 3, and that's Raging Ogre, and then we click that, and conveniently we get the Raging Ogre thing there. What we're going to do is, rather than having 2 rolls, one to see if an encounter occurs and then one to see what it is, we just have 1 roll. So what we can just do is change it to D10, and then have another one, text, no encounter, lucky them, and that will be 4 to 10. And so we'll see what happens. So that time we got a 10, and then it just came text, no encounter. Do it again. Now I'm getting suspicious. That time we got a 10, no encounter. Okay, something's gone wrong, and it'll be another pause. I'm wondering if this is wrong. I should do roll D3, I'll see. So after extensive testing, I've come to the conclusion it's just that I'm amazingly lucky that I was just rolling 10 all the time. So you don't need to do /R. In fact, that doesn't work. Just do the actual dice roll. You can do D10 or 1D10 or 2D, whatever. And then if you roll, the things flick around. And yeah, 10 on a D10. But look, it's not always 10, just mostly 10. 7. And every time we're getting between 4 and 10, we get this one, no encounter. And then eventually we got a 1, and then it's Yellow Musk on the Wind. So draw with replacement means that if one is selected, it can be selected again, and because we've got an option of no encounter, that should be appropriate. We don't want to have the only opportunity for no encounter once. Display roll formula to chat, yeah, we just want to show the formula here, that's fine. And that covers rollable tables. So I think I'll conclude there after my pauses. We changed up the encounters, added in some pictures. We had a kind of custom actions with the tipping over the cauldron or pushing into the cauldron, and then we did rollable tables for random encounters. Next time we'll fill in those random encounters, and then we need to affiliate them with a scene so that we've got a convenient area to play out random encounters. And thanks very much for listening, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye.